Hi, I'm John McConnell, President and CEO of Victoria Gold. Victoria is a publicly listed company on the TSX. I recently had a question from an investor. He asked what our minimum market cap was in our history, and it was actually back in the late part of 2008. We had a market cap of $12 million. Today we're over $1 billion. So, a little more than 10 years later, we've been successful at growing the company and taking an idea through exploration, development, and into production.
Well done, you. John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good.
Good. Well, I'm seeing you since April, but you've been busy. You've been very busy. You've got your Q2 numbers out as well.
Yeah, no, it's been good. And with COVID restrictions relaxing, I've been able to spend more time up at the mine site, which I really enjoy. My background is operations, so great to get boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Well, fantastic. Well, thanks for sparing us your time today, because I know you're heading up there shortly as well. Should we talk about Q2 results first? Let's have a little chat about it. Because when we first met, we were talking about stacking and all year round stacking versus where you're at the moment. So Q2 numbers, as expected?
Yeah, we're tracking right on budget. I know some market people were a little disappointed. They thought they'd be higher, but right on budget. And I'm very happy with the way the operation is performing. And, as we talked about before, till we get to year-round stacking, we'll always be back-end loaded in terms of our gold production. So, look for quite a change in Q3 and Q4. The improvements we made late last year and early this year when we were shut down are really starting to pay off now. We're seeing stacking rates up significantly, and we're well over budget in terms of stacking in July. So that should continue.
So well over budget, or do you mean ahead of forecast? What do you mean?
Just the tons we stacked on the pad. We're well ahead of budget in July, sort of to date, and I think that'll continue for the balance of Q3 and Q4.
Okay, so just to remind people about the conversations we've had in the past with regard to all year round stacking. Basically, during winter months, a little bit more problematic for the agents to actually work. Your minus 30 degrees type conditions. So how can you talked about Project 250K last time we were talking, right? It's where your guys have set themselves a target to get to, 250,000 ounces production. How do you get there? Are we going to be doing that in 2022, 2023, 2024? What are you targeting?
Yeah, our target is by 2023 to be producing over 250,000 per annum. And that's, there's two things we're doing. One, we'll go to year-round stacking. We've planned about a month shutdown in 2022. And in 2023, we'll go year-round. So that adds, between 40 and 50,000 ounces per year with that alone. The other thing we're looking at is we have a large shear zone that runs through the center of the ore body. It's the same grade as the rest of the ore body, but when we drill and blast, it breaks extremely fine. So we see an opportunity to screen off that material, probably between the primary and secondary crushers, and that will give us more capacity through the overall plant. So, that probably adds another 30,000 ounces per year.
So Project 300, is that what we're aiming for?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the guys at site are already calling it Project 300.
Fantastic. Good boys. Okay, so and just give us the highlights for the Q2 numbers, just so I've got a sense of where you're at today versus, we've been talking about where you want to go.
Yeah, in terms of, the important number is gold production. And, again, we're right on budget. And, we've really turned the corner. The heap leach is very simple. There's keys. You got to get ore on the pad and get area under leach. You do those two things, and the amount of gold production goes up. Sounds very simple, but sometimes, conveyors break down, or you don't get the lines out properly. And so it's just getting very disciplined about getting ore on the pad and area under leach. Then the gold comes out.
You make it sound so simple. Well, I think obviously the results have been out. The Q2 results have been out. You're clearly expecting, because of the seasonality component, that Q3 and Q4 will be better. How much better? And does that set the tone for Q1, Q2 next year? Or again, will the kind of seasonality component come back to play?
Yeah, our guidance hasn't changed. We're still guiding between 180 and 200,000 ounces for the year. So, we need to be producing, say, plus 70,000 ounces in Q3 and Q4 to achieve that. But we don't see any issue there.
Right. Okay. But then again, I just want to sort of help manage people's expectations of what will then happen in Q1, Q2 next year. Obviously, you'll be guiding a lower amount and then playing catch up at the end of the year again, won't you?
Yeah. And, you got to remember that, our full leach cycle is closer to 150 days. So, you get ore on the pad, you don't necessarily get that gold off for, 6 months.
Right. But so why do the numbers get affected in Q1 when it's cold? What's happening physically?
Oh, because we're not stacking ore on the pad.
Right. Okay. So that's what you mean by season. It's not a case of it stops working.
The leaching itself works fine. It's just you're not getting new fresh ore on the pad.
Right. So, and why is that? Again, people may not have seen the previous interview. I'm just going to explain that. Why are you not able to do that?
Yeah, we're being conservative. We're following the same plan that Kinross did at Fort Knox. What you don't want to do is freeze a section of the pad. So we're being careful, and we've got 2 winters under our belt now. There's been a lot of lessons learned, and we know what to watch for and what to do and what not to do. So, I still think this year we'll probably shut down for, some of the coldest days. So probably a month, but, again, we'll learn from that. And as I said, in 2023, get to year-round stacking.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, I'm sure people can look at the Q2 announcement and kind of get into the numbers there. I wanted to talk to you about something which I think is really interesting, which is Coeur mining or Coeur mining. They've obviously picked up the Orion shares. What does that mean? What should we be reading into that? How do we interpret that?
Yeah, they essentially purchased half of Orion shares. Mm-hmm. So they bought 17.8% of Victoria. Orion is still a large shareholder at over 18%. But, they've, told people they want to purchase all of Victoria. So they've essentially put us in play. So we've opened a data room. We've invited a number of other mid-tier and senior producers to sign CAs and also have a look at our data room. And we would expect, a number of those companies will do site visits in August and perhaps present management with a proposal the end of August, early September.
So we've seen a few of these scenarios this year. M&A is in the air, where some companies have let a major walk in unaccompanied and take a big position in the company and made it, not gone out and got competitive tenders. You got to have this competitive tension whenever you're trying to sell a company, right? So you've obviously taken care of that, picked up the phone. There's a few people in your data room at the moment. And, Coeur have got the benefit of sitting on 17.8% of your shares now. Is that deal closed now? Is it complete? They have the shares, right? Okay. Yes. So that's closed. That makes it difficult, not impossible, for others to step in. Does it?
Well, you got to remember, Orion still has a very large block. I think, it makes it difficult for others, but not out of the question. The other thing we did was we put in place a shareholders' rights plan that runs through until October, and that prevents Coeur from going into the market and buying more. They can't go above 20%. So, there's a good opportunity for someone else to come forward and challenge Coeur.
For a period. I mean, how long is that shareholders' rights in place for?
Yeah, it's until about mid-October.
Oh, so not long.
And, there is a possibility that, we could extend that, but, voting services don't like shareholder rights plans, so they would probably be advising their clients not to vote in favor of an extension to the shareholder rights plan.
So it was always the intent of Orion to offload some of the shares. Is that true to say?
Orion is a private equity firm. They're in the business of making money for their limited partners, and that doesn't include being long-term shareholders of a mining company. So, we always knew they would, at some point want to return their money to their limited partners.
So does that give us a sense of, how Orion valued you? You're $1 billion Canadian, right? As of today, we're a little bit higher a few weeks ago. Does that say to them they think that you are well valued at the moment and they needed to kind of cash in rather than wait for your project 250 or your project 300 to kind of kick in? So did they let you know that this was going to be happening now?
No, but we always knew that at a certain point they'd reach their criteria for selling.
Right. But does that, just on the question, do you think that they called it right in terms of the valuation? I don't suppose CEO, you're going to say, of course not. You're undervalued. But they did pull the ripcord now, and I just think it's an interesting timing. Did you have any conversations with them before, during, or after with regards to their rationale? Did you have any say as to who could step in and pick this up? Did you have any choice?
No conversation. I heard about it, an hour before the press release went out. Orion called me.
Okay, you told me in the past you want to get this up and running, build a mine, be a significant producer. Do you want to be taken out?
I don't think it's a matter of want to or don't want to, because, I do own 1% of Victoria, but that's not enough to sway the vote. My preference would be to use Eagle as the basis to build another mid-tier mining company. It's low cost, long life asset, and, I think you can do that. But I've always known it would be a very attractive asset for a mid-tier senior to own as well.
So how do you play this, right? So I know you've got to do everything you do is at the behest and for the benefit of the shareholders, right? We get it. But if you think that you've got something good here, how do you say to your shareholders, I think we've got something good here. We are producing cash. We can produce a lot more. Perhaps we can build this up into something bigger and better. We can go on an acquisition trail ourselves. There are targets, producing targets, which we will not have to overpay for. Is that a conversation that you've got the energy to have, or do you think, well, let Coeur do what they do? If they put it on a bid, I'll accept it. I mean, how defensive do you play it? How aggressive do you play it? And because it's a tough decision for you.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I mean, I think, Project 250K, we're doing the engineering now, and we'll get, some information into the market, that demonstrates how we plan to do that. We've never really had a hard look at the exploration potential of the area. We've been focused the last 10 years on moving Eagle forward, and to be quite honest, haven't had the cash to do a proper exploration. So we're doing that now. Our program this year is, 10 to 12 million, and we're leaving no stone unturned, so to speak. And, I think we're up to 4 drills running now, and hope to have a 5th on board here shortly, and, demonstrate that this is a district. It's not a single asset. I think that'll come together, and hopefully Coeur and others will recognize the exploration potential.
It's kind of interesting to me the way you were talking, because you've used a phrase there I think people wouldn't have naturally thought of, which you were cash constrained on the exploration side, right? We need to get this thing up and running into production, produce some cash. That's what the focus has got to be. But the district-wide potential of this is not something that you've had the money to be able to do. So that the way you're talking about it suggests to me that you would be happy to have that conversation with Coeur. You'd be happy to have that conversation with your shareholders, rather than just say, "Okay, my work is done. I've built $1 billion company. Off we go. I'm done now." Am I reading you right?
Well, I just want to make sure that if Coeur or another company make an offer for Victoria, it's maximized for our shareholders, and that they understand the full value of the Eagle plus the district.
Okay, well that's a different positioning then. So you want to, between now and October, when this shareholder rights runs out, be able to drive the potential value of this thing up a little bit further, so you get a better deal, but you don't necessarily want to build this thing out. I don't control that, but my personal preference, I would rather use Eagle as the base asset to build a company. Right.
And I think the best growth assets are in our own backyard. We've looked at other opportunities in the Americas, and we haven't seen a lot of assets we'd like to buy, but we haven't had the time to go through that very rigorously either.
So does it matter whether this asset sits as Victoria Gold or sits within Coeur? Because do they have the team to actually go and do the work? Would you expect to be part of some sort of joint management team and joint development team, joint production team? I mean, how does it work if someone like a Coeur came along and offered you money?
Well, I don't think you need 2 CEOs, but they'd be foolish not to, try and hire my senior management team, because they've done an excellent job. But, Coeur has the Rochester heap leach mine in Nevada, which has a lot of similarities to Eagle. They also have the Wharf heap leach mine in South Dakota. So, they're familiar with heap leaching and, mining. So,
okay. Your announcement with regards to the deal with Coeur was quite quiet. It was quite passive. You didn't make a big deal out of it. Is it not a big deal?
Well, I mean, nothing has changed for us yet. They're just another shareholder. They don't have a right to a seat on the board of directors. So, they have very little influence over how we operate.
Interesting. Okay. Well, did they not ask for one?
No, they haven't to date. And we just had our AGM a few weeks ago, and, reelected the current set of directors. So, there's not really an opportunity to change that until the next AGM.
Okay. Have you any desire to do any share buybacks yourself with the NCIB, or do you need all money going in the ground?
We've put a share buyback in place. We haven't used it to date. Our shares have been on a nice trajectory up, so there's been no need. But we have that option now.
Right, and to what scale? I mean, how much can you buy back?
I think it's up to 10% per year.
Okay. So that would normally, just so I understand how these things work, normally if you were under a potential takeout position, would you be doing share buybacks? Because obviously that drives the share price, but or is it smarter to actually put that money instead in the ground because, exploration drives value? I mean, how do you balance those decisions?
Yeah, I think right now for us, we're better off to do exploration. The other thing that share buyback does is it increases the percent a suitor owns, like Coeur.
Well, that's also, I guess, part of the tactic, which you could drive them to a point. Is that why they only picked up 17.8%? Because you did do that, because you could drive them to a point where they'd have to make a decision at 20%, wouldn't you? If they get over, is it over 20% in Canada?
Yeah.
Right, but you're not doing that. That's not part of the tactics. No. Okay. Interesting. So John, appreciate the update today. What should we be looking out for? Obviously, Q3, Q4 look like there'll be 70,000 ounce quarters is the guidance. You feel confident about that. Should we be looking out for a bid from another suitor? Is that coming?
Stay tuned.
Okay, we'll stay tuned for that. So you've got, what did you say? 3 other groups you're talking to?
No, I didn't say a number. I said numerous.
You spotted my cunning ploy. Okay, good. Well,
I can't tell you more than 3.
More than 3, okay, but less than 5.
No, I didn't say that.
John, good to catch up with you.
I just conclude with there's a lot of interest in Victoria Gold. There are not very many 200,000 plus ounce producers in a safe jurisdiction with all-in sustaining costs less than, we're still guiding less than, $900 per ounce life of mine. There just aren't any out there. So, there's a lot of people knocking at the door.
I mean, well, just on that, actually, you got me thinking. Say if part of your strategy, and you did speak to Coeur, and you did speak to your shareholders and said, look, we've got a lot within our own portfolio in terms of exploration potential, but with a simple acquisition, this could be transformative. We could move to very, very quickly to a 300,000-400,000 ounce a year producer. How do you go about? Presumably, you'd also want something either Yukon or North American, at least, to do that. How do you do that without overpaying in this market? Giving people know your position and the reasons why. Is M&A a realistic possibility for you? Is what I'm asking.
Not in the short term. We're running this process now, and we'll see how this plays out.
Okay, good man. Well, stay in touch, John, and let us know how you get on. Okay.
All right.